Hello everyone, welcome back to my F1 diary. Lando Norris is back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's fucking go. This is propaganda I am easily falling for. We're back. He's back, and I'm so happy. After struggling in qualifying Central Australia this year, he finally figures something out and puts it on pole in Monaco nonetheless, where it matters most and where it's extra difficult. I am so proud of him, and I'm so happy to see his spark again. I was screaming and crying and smiling when he got pole, and then again on Sunday when he won the race. Not that it was not stressful, it was, and we'll get to it, but he did it, baby. He won Monaco. What a historical moment and a great achievement for his career. I truly hope this was a turning point for him, and from now on he gets along better with the car and nail qualifying like he did today. He deserves this so much, and I'm so glad that he was able to achieve this, and in front of his parents as well. His parents were both there. I think it was also his dad's birthday, and he dedicated the win for them. And I also think he got a little emotional on the podium, which was so sweet to see. At the end of the national anthem, he was kind of getting teary-eyed, and he looked down to hide his face from the cameras with his hat, and it was just so heartfelt to see how much this means to him and his family, of course, as well. Because again, this is not only a great achievement in his career to win in Monaco, it's also, I feel and I hope, him gaining more confidence in himself and in the car to go get this championship this year. So I'm just so happy, and I just had to get that out of the way, and we'll get to talk about everything as usual in order. So the Monaco Grand Prix, a historic race, part of the Triple Crown of Motorsports, along with the Indy 500, which we will talk about today as well, and the 24-hour of Le Mans. Very fancy and high regarded race that attracts a lot of famous and rich people from around the world, but it is also very divisive among the fans in regards to whether it should stay on the calendar or not, because Monaco is impossible to overtake. It has always been hard, but with these year's cars, which are the heaviest and largest cars in F1 history, it's pretty much impossible. I honestly don't even know if there were any on-track overtakes except for 2 in the beginning. So where you qualify is generally where you finish. A lot of fans think it's boring and want it removed from the calendar. I personally don't really mind having it on the calendar. I mean, it has such a significance in the motorsport world that I think it would be a shame to rob any future driver from the opportunity of winning it or just racing in it at all. And I think Christian Hugel said it really well, that it's just one out of the 24 races that we have this year that is the outlier, and it is more like an endurance race, where the race is not really about the overtaking, but the endurance of it, the not hitting the walls of it. And yeah, I think I agree. It's a spectacle to watch even without on-track action. I think it's super impressive to see how fast these cars go in such narrow streets, and because it's just one out of the 24, I don't think it's that detrimental. So in my humble opinion, we should keep Monaco on the calendar. And hey, listen, the FIA listened for once about how boring the race is, and they tried to spice it up with introducing a new rule just for the Monaco Grand Prix, having mandatory 2 pit stops in the race instead of 1. I mean, there's no mandatory pit stops in a race. There is a mandatory change of compound of tires, which means you have to stop at least once. But this race, you have to stop twice. And that was kind of a reaction to what happened last year, where there was a red flag very early in the race. Everyone changed their tires under it, basically got a free pit stop, and then just went to the end. And that was that. So they tried to do something different. I think having a pit stop under the red flags should just not count. That should be the change. And that's where it's tricky, because it's not a stop that is mandatory, it's the change of tires that is. But they should just switch it so a stop is mandatory like it is in F2, and that a red flag doesn't count. And I think that would improve this race and other races as well. I think it should be just all across the board like this. But whatever, this is what we got this year's Monaco. I don't know if it will stay like this for next year, because honestly, don't really know if it aided in any way. I mean, I'm not really one to say, because my only reference point is what happened last year. So I'm not the one you should ask about this. But it didn't seem that anyone really loved the 2 stops or praised it for actually changing anything. So I appreciate you tried, FIA, but maybe there's something better we can do. I do think, though, that it did help in the race in terms of pushing. Most of the times in Monaco, because it's so hard to overtake, drivers can just sit back and relax, basically, not push at all, and have really long stints on any sort of tire. And the 2-stop, I think, made it more possible for people to push, or demanded them to push in order to keep their position. And also this week, the C6 was back as the soft tire. So again, we went a step softer in the tire compounds. So that also aided, I guess. So we are getting somewhere maybe. Just needs a bit more tweaking. But in the end of the day, I don't think we'll ever get like a great race in Monaco. I think it's just inevitable with how the track is, which is exactly the problem that some people have with it, but I digress. And before I forget, there are a few special suits and liveries for this weekend. McLaren have a livery that references the M7A car from the late 60s, early 70s that Bruce McLaren himself drove. They have the retro numbers on them, which looked very cool. They also have matching suits with it, which also look great as well. I love McLaren's white suits. They always slay. And I also love the retro look. It looks great. And almost matching them, we have Charles' special suit, notably just Charles's special suit. Definitely been a while since drivers of the same team had different suits. I don't know when the last time that happened, but definitely a while, I think. It is also white and very similar looking to the Williams suit. I guess Charles is forever. And if you can't beat them, join them, right? So yeah. In practice, Ferrari and particularly Charles looked very fast, which was kind of surprising, but also not that surprising. Obviously, Ferrari hasn't had the best opening for this season, but this is Charles in Monaco, and he's always been very good around here. So it wasn't that surprising after all, even after Charles said that he has no hope for Monaco and that even being in the top 10 would maybe be difficult for them. And then qualifying, the most important part of a weekend in Monaco. And it is very hard around Monaco. Every little mistake can put you in the wall. If you don't push enough, you just lose a lot of time. There are a lot of traffic to manage, and there's a high chance of yellow flags or red flags. But honestly, just the quali session for Monaco, I think, is enough reason to keep it on the calendar, because that is one hell of a session. Because it is so hard and so detrimental to how the weekend will turn out. It's such a high stakes, high pressure session. It is thrilling and exciting and definitely makes Monaco worth it. And this one was definitely worth it because with all the stress, Lando got pole, also breaking the circuit's record, being the first driver to complete a lap under 70 seconds. So he's on pole. He's been honestly on it from the beginning of qualifying. And he was also ahead of Oscar in 2 out of the 3 practice sessions. And then we have Leclerc in P2, Oscar in P3. He didn't have the best weekend, Oscar. As I said, he was behind Lando pretty much the whole weekend. But a P3 in Monaco on your off weekend is still very good. Then we have Hamilton in P4, who got a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Max, so he drops down to 7th. So that puts Verstappen up in 4, Hadjar in 5th, Alonso in 6th, then Hamilton, Ocon in 8, Liam Lawson in 9, and Alex Albon 10th. Carlos just missing Q3 by a 10th, and both Mercedes out, with Kimi having a crash at the end of Q1, so he went through to Q2 but did not participate in it. And then Russell, his engine just died, so he also did not put in a time. So they started 14th and 15th, and they just had an awful weekend. Mercedes were not on it at all. And we'll get to it again in a second. But the start of the race was a bit stressful, I'm not gonna lie. Lando, huge lockup into turn 1. Charles also got a way better start than Lando, so I almost had a heart attack. And with Lando and Paul, I have to say the new rule of the 2 stops was a bit stressful. I mean, it was already known that whoever qualified in front would not really benefit from that rule, because there are more opportunities for things to go wrong. And also McLaren have not been great on their pit stops this year, and Ferrari definitely have, so it was a bit nerve-wracking. But thankfully Charles really backed off and Lando kept his place. And that was basically it. I mean, nothing changed with the pit stops, except Hamilton went back up to P5. But the top 4 stayed where they were. At the end, it was very stressful with Max. He was P1 on the road, but he still had a pit stop to do. And Lando and Charles were right behind him. Charles really pushing Lando, but Lando not really having anywhere to go, with Max pushing him back into Charles. Eventually, Oscar also joined up to that queue, but was not really able to put Charles under that much pressure. But Charles, I mean, he gave it all. I mean, he was very close to Lando at some points. But also Lando played it very smart. He backed Charles up and backed away from Max to leave himself enough gap to push when he needed to, so he managed that very, very well. So great job to both of them. And Max being in front always was a bit stressful because if there was a red flag at that point, they would just do his second pit stop under the red flag and he would just go on to win the race. So great strategy from Red Bull, putting him in that position, but nothing came out of it, thank God. And he pitted on the penultimate lap, falling back to fourth, and Lando went on to win the race, also doing the fastest lap of the race on the last lap, which obviously doesn't give him a point this year, but it was a great way to show that he did have the pace and that he had it all under control. Now going a little bit backwards on the grid, we had a lot of teamwork going on, where basically the teammate who qualified lower would just hold everyone up behind him, opening a pit stop gap to the guy in front. Vcarb did it first with Liam backing everyone from P11 down up, allowing Isaac to do his 2 pit stops for free basically. And then Williams did it as well, taking turns on who is backing the field up, and everyone else behind them was kind of fucked that they didn't employ this technique. But Mercedes specifically were just so bad this weekend. I mean, obviously they qualified bad, but also they did not do that strategy, even though they could have, with Kimi being directly behind Russell. So Kimi could have backed the field up, allowing George to have his 2 free pit stops and then switch and have George do it for Kimi. Instead, they just didn't have any pit stops at all and were stuck behind the Williams for pretty much the entire race, to the point where George was so frustrated driving behind such a slow Williams, he just cut the corner and said, you know what, give me the penalty, I don't care anymore. And he got a drive-through penalty, and then near the end of the race, both he and Kimi did their 2 pit stops each. And honestly, I don't even know what Mercedes were thinking. Kind of looked like they forgot about the new rule of the 2 pit stops, but also not doing the backing up technique and also just breaking the rules. It was a disaster for Mercedes. And I totally get being frustrated. And both Alex and Carlos did not enjoy that race strategy, but they had no other choice basically. So yeah, that's not really a way to race, because I mean, that's just not racing. But deliberately cutting a corner is perhaps worse. So yeah, maybe the FIA should impose rules about how much you're allowed to slow down and back up cars in Monaco or something like that. Maybe they should have a delta to follow in the race, kind of like they have in practice or in qualifying, where they can be noted for driving unnecessarily slowly, so they can have that in Monaco as well. But as much as it was annoying for George or everyone who was stuck behind those kind of cars who backed everyone up, those strategies got both of those teams double points, so you can't really blame them. I mean, this is Monaco, it's part of this race. And I don't think the 2 stop had anything to do with it. I mean, you can also just do that with a 1 stop, but then it's just less drastic, because backing up someone 20 seconds if it's just 1 stop versus backing someone up for 40 seconds. And in this case, another 40 seconds because the Williams switched roles and backed each for the other one to get their 2 stops out of the way. So I totally understand the frustration. Maybe we can impose some rules that can make it better. But again, this is just a part of Monaco, and you should just, there's literally nothing you can do about it as of right now. And yeah, that was pretty much the race. We did have 2 DNFs, Pierre slamming into the back of Yuki, and Alonso losing his engine at one point. Honestly impressed that Yuki didn't have to DNF from that impact with Pierre. I don't know if he had damage or not, but honestly props that his car didn't completely break as well. And yeah, pretty boring. Definitely better than last year, but I mean, anything would be. That's a pretty low bar to set for yourself. We definitely had some entertainment. Toto had an office moment at one point, but obviously the most important thing is that Lando won. And the cooldown room was great. They do have to fix that fucking audio in the cooldown room, if you know what I mean. They're talking between themselves and all of a sudden the mic just stops working instead of, the top 3 discussing and debriefing the race. So that has to be fixed. I don't know what exactly is the problem. Just put a mic there, and that is it. But I digress. The podium as well was great. There was a little moment with Oscar with I think it was the princess, which is just makes things worse. But she was presenting the second place trophy to Charles, obviously, but on her way, she went to shake Oscar's hand, who thought she was mistaken, like in the podium place, and was like, no, Charles is over there, that's P2. And she was like, no, I just wanted to shake your hand. Oh, God. I cringe when I think about it. Oh, that is my worst nightmare. That is my worst nightmare. I don't do well with like handshakes and like half hugs or like high fives or all of that stuff to start with. And having that like awkward moment with someone is like a genuine fear that I have before like meeting new people or even meeting people that I already know that I'm like not that close with. But then also having like the entire world see. I think this will keep him up at night. More than the greedy, even. Way more. I mean, it would for me. So yeah, that was a little moment there. I mean, he laughed it off, like smiled and laughed with Lando. But it was a little embarrassing. But we love our awkward king. And I think that is it for Monaco. And before we talk about the Indy 500 that I also watched, I wanted to mention something that I didn't mention last week, but I've now has had developments that are obligating me to speak about it. And that is the whole Franz Hermann thing. If you weren't aware, before Imola, Max tested a Ferrari GT3 car in the Nürburgring. And he did that under a fake name, Franz Hermann, just to avoid having the place swarmed by the media when he got there, which definitely worked and was a smart move from him. But then we got the whole Franz Hermann is making his debut in F1. F1 themselves put Franz Hermann in one of the practice sessions in Imola. So that was all fun and games. But the important thing that happened that made me want to mention it is that Danny Rick uploaded this video to Instagram of him driving a very slow, I don't know, tractor or something of the sorts, probably somewhere in Perth, with a caption of Frank Hermann, which I can only guess is the Australian cousin of Franz Hermann. And what is even more charming is that no one could comment except for Max, who did indeed comment. And my maxiel heart is full again. It is very nice to know that the bromance is still alive and well, and it will never die off, I believe. So yeah, it was important for me to mention that. And now a little bit before I let you go, as I said, I watched the Indy 500 for the very first time, and it was definitely, I mean, it was very American, and it was quite chaotic, but it was mostly confusing and maybe a bit boring as well, especially for someone like me who is new to IndyCar and never watched the Indy 500. So part of it is definitely on me, but also the graphics were just awful. I mean, the timing table did not function well for like 90% of the time, and the commentating, well, it was just non-existent for 50% of the race because there are 100 million ad breaks for the American broadcast. So the commentators just disappear for long periods of times. They would just stop talking and you just had to watch the race with no proper timing and no proper commentating. So it is also on them. So I can't say I enjoyed it. As I understand, it was like a boring Indy 500 in general, but I wouldn't really know. We did have a rookie driver for a rookie team on pole, which was very special, but that did not go well for him. And Alex Palou ended up winning it, who is a 3-time IndyCar champion who also leads this current championship. But this is the very first time he won the Indy 500 or any oval for that matter. So super impressive and also obviously super important for him. Isn't who I wanted to win, but I'm obviously not that invested in it to deeply care. But yeah, I was rooting for Pato or David Malukas or Scott McLaughlin. But again, not too pressed about them not winning it. And I also couldn't really tell you like what exactly happened for Alex to win. Like I could not break it down for you. But anyways, this was Monaco. Next week is Spain, which should be very interesting. There's a regulation change from Spain onward for this season regarding flexi wings. So maybe that will change something in the order. Hopefully not hinder anything for McLaren, but we'll just have to wait and see. But goodbye for now. And until next time, enjoy these memes. Bye!